Okay, so we've had a couple of days on site since we poured the walls, and I'm not sure how much recorded from the video I did yesterday, but just thought I'd do a walk round of where we got to yesterday. So we are supporting the floor above. In some sections it's poured concrete. So what we've got for where we've just got poured concrete and rebar is a wooden pad at the bottom of the acro prop, an acro prop, a 5x8 timber, then we've got a 6x2 timber, and on top of that we will have plywood. And these are for the areas where we've got the most work being done by the cantilever. So the big section that we're doing on this floor is we are fitting the shuck connections, and we're preparing for the balcony that's going to go out the side. So in here we have already fitted the plywood above. We've put a piece of DPM membrane over the top to keep the plywood dry, and we'll leave that in place when we do the pour so that the plywood doesn't get stuck to the concrete. You can also see that we've done some cross bracing on the acro props. That's all to the design that Andre, my structural engineer, has specified. So that will keep everything nice and solid when we put several tons of wet concrete up above here. The other section of the roof is being done with just the quad deck. So here is the underside of some quad deck. So here is it's a similar build up, but it's not quite the same. So we've got the wooden pad under the acro prop, we've got the acro prop, and then we've got the 8x5 timber. So what's that, 200 by 120 odd millimeters. And then you've just got the quad deck directly on top of the 8x5. I've already been up there walking around, and it's remarkably stable. So in the quad deck there are some metal bars which run through the quad deck. There's 2 bars per sheet, and those bars provide the support, and all of the quad deck fits nice and tightly together so that you don't end up with any gaps like that. They all just sit together, something like there, and then you put some brackets into the quad deck just to hold it in place while you're pouring the concrete. So that is all progressing nicely. Something else to show you while we are on site here. We have repaired the blowout. So here was where we had the here was where we had the wall blowout during the pour of the first floor. So what we've done is we have cut out the piece of quad lock. And once we have cut out the piece of quad lock, we've then used a diamond disc cutter to cut out the concrete, going back just far enough that we can then fit a piece of 2-inch quad lock in underneath the window and hold it in place with some expanding foam. So when you see this at the end of the day, you won't be able to tell that this is a thinner piece of the quad lock, and we haven't compromised the strength of the wall in any way, because it's actually still slightly thicker than all the walling around it. So yeah, that's all gone back in there quite nicely. In this video we've seen the supporting structure for both the quad deck and the plywood. We've shown the installation of the quad deck and the build up of the start of the rebar cages, which will support the chute connectors that are allowing the balcony to go out the side of the building. And we will continue with another video to show the installation of the rest of the rebar, the underfloor heating prior to the pour of the first floor concrete.